Before we get to this episode, I want to ask you a quick question. Are you a woman who's 50 or older? And are you ready for a career or job change? Maybe you're yearning to do more meaningful work that really lights you up. I'm asking because my friends Dana and Wendy of Camp Reinvention have the coolest career program. It's called the Career Change Accelerator Program, and they coach amazing women in a 12-week program to reimagine what their careers might look like and to help them see new possibilities. Their very cool program is kicking off on October 27th, and if you even have an inkling, I might be ready for something new and different, I invite you to check out the details. There's a link in the show notes, and let's get busy and think about new possibilities. I wanted to kick things off with this solo episode and talk about this idea of what it means to show up for ourselves. And I want to do three things. I want to talk about what I learned about myself this summer by taking a little break. I want to talk about what it means to show up for ourselves and why that's so important. And I want to end with 3 questions for you to noodle on about showing up for yourself. Because that is the best thing that we can do when we show up for ourselves. Anything is possible, especially when it comes to reinvention. Welcome to Reinvention Rebels. Stories of brave and unapologetic women, 50 to 90 years young, who have boldly reimagined life on their own terms to find new purpose and possibilities. I'm your host, Wendy Battles. Ready for a dose of inspiration? Let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome to Season 4 of the Reinvention Rebels podcast. I am your host, Wendy Battles, and I am so excited that you are here joining me. So excited that you're here to help me kick off what I can't believe is already Season 4 of this fabulous podcast full of inspiration. If you are a first-time listener, welcome, welcome. I am so glad you're here. This is the place to come for inspiration about reinventing ourselves. We talk about how we can reinvent ourselves at any age or any stage. It does not matter what decade we are in. It doesn't matter if you reinvented yourself already 4 or 5 times before. We can always do it again in a way that works for us. On this podcast, I focus on women between 50 and 90 who have reinvented themselves in bold, brave, and inspiring ways. But the truth of the matter is that the topics that we talk about on the podcast, the conversations I have with guests, and the solo episodes that I share, the themes are universal. So even if you're in your 20s or 30s, even if you are not 50, it really doesn't matter because I believe there's something for everyone in these episodes to get us thinking about our own Reinvention Rebel journey. Because the truth of the matter is, we all have an inner rebel. We just need to bring him or her out to shine and to stand in the light and to see that anything is possible. And that's what I help you to do. So I'm very excited that you're here, and I can't wait to share a whole lot of inspiration this season. I actually ended up Season 3 in mid-June. I was planning to take a brief hiatus for about a month, but I have to tell you, I really needed a break. And it was summer, and I leaned in and really started enjoying myself. So what was going to be a 1-month break, it turned it into a 2-month break. And then I thought, I'm having such a good time taking a break from the podcast that I'm going to take the whole summer off. I just gave myself permission to do that. And I am so happy that I did. It was so worth it to just have some time to kind of unwind, relax, and also get more into my creative flow, which I can't do when I'm busy all the time and stressed out because I do have a full-time job. I'm a part-time podcaster. It's my greatest passion and I love it so much, but I'm always trying to balance doing that with all the other things of life. So it was really good for me to take a break. So today I wanted to kick things off with this solo episode and talk about this idea of what it means to show up for ourselves. And I want to do three things. I want to talk about what I learned about myself this summer by taking a little break. I want to talk about what it means to show up for ourselves and why that's so important. And I want to end with 3 questions for you to noodle on about showing up for yourself. Because that is the best thing that we can do when we show up for ourselves. Anything is possible, especially when it comes to reinvention. So here's the thing. I don't know if I want to say often, but I sometimes don't show up for myself. I don't do what I need to do to take care of myself. And showing up for ourselves, to me, is one of the keys of our ability to reinvent ourselves, to put ourselves first, to make ourselves a priority. Because what we want, what we desire, what we dream, it does matter. And showing up for ourselves means we're more likely to make that happen. So when I say I wasn't showing up for myself, what I mean is I was burning the candle on both ends. I get up every day during the week at 4:45, which seems incredibly early, but that's how I can fit in podcasting before I exercise and start my day job. But I have to tell you, I was so burnt out. The getting up so early on a regular basis and also not going to bed early enough. So I wasn't getting enough sleep. And then I was getting up really early, had me feeling scattered. I was doing a lot of running around. I wasn't as clear-headed as I wanted to be. And I realized I just needed time and space to just be, to tune into Wendy and to let up on that crazy pace. Because I found you can only do it for so long till your body's like, what? Like, hello, you got to take care of me. And when we want to reinvent ourselves, it requires time and space to do that. It requires this idea that it's not just running on a hamster mill, but that we do get more quiet, that we do give ourselves some space, that we do lean into just being, because we can continue to reinvent ourselves. And I think we can have reinventions within our reinvention, which is certainly true for me because I reinvented myself about 3 years ago as a podcaster, and I still continue to reinvent myself. So there's a reinvention within my reinvention. But I need to take a little time for me to continue to do that in a fun, authentic, productive, and inspiring way. So showing up for me looks like, when I show up for myself, it looks like I'm having more fun. I'm more relaxed. I'm going to the beach. I'm seeing friends. And those are things I've been leaning into all summer. By having more time, it's meant I've spent more time with my husband. We went to the Saratoga Jazz Festival in June, which was a blast. It was a perfect summer weekend. The weather was gorgeous. It was so much fun. I just totally leaned into it. I leaned into not having to be on that crazy schedule that I was on. So I felt more freedom. I took a week off in July and just kind of hung out, did some day trips. That was really fun. So sometimes the ease of not having to plan like a big trip was great. At the end of July, I had one of those really special moments. I saw my 3 best friends from high school, and we hadn't been together, all 4 of us, in, believe it or not, 39 years. Like since high school, our high school graduation had been that long. And one of my friends, Mickey, her daughter is a ballerina. She was studying in Boston this summer, and she came out to pick her up because I went to high school in Minnesota. And I just don't get to Minnesota that often. I don't have any relatives in Minnesota. So it had been forever. So Mickey and Amy came out, and another friend doesn't live that far from here, Jill. And we rented the cutest Airbnb in Newport for only 3 days. And it was an amazing 3 days. It was joyful. It was blissful. It was like we hadn't missed a beat, even though we hadn't seen each other in all that time. And we had so much fun. It literally was a magical experience and was one of the highlights of the summer. Just leaning into being with people who know you and care about you, and the laughter, and realizing even in high school, we went through so much and came out on the other side. So getting together was awesome. So that is showing up for myself, that kind of leaning in, having more fun. It was pretty amazing. So all that to say that I have done that a lot this summer. I've also gone to the beach a bunch. I love the beach. I'm not a water person per se, unless it's in the Caribbean. I'm not even a big sun person. I always get underneath my big umbrella and just relax and read and look at the water and listen to all the sounds around me. And I find it so relaxing. So we've had lots of beach days, gotten together with family, seen friends I haven't seen because of the pandemic. That's been joyful. So all of those things are about showing up for myself, and it is so key. And I now feel so much more relaxed, rejuvenated, energized, ready to roll. And that is such a key thing about reinvention. I want you to picture this idea. You might have an inkling about some way. You're not even sure how, but there's something that's needling at you about reinventing yourself in some way. Maybe it's because something's missing. Maybe it's because you have a big dream or a small dream or something you really want to do or something you wanted to do for years and you haven't done it. And maybe you feel a little unsure about it. Can you actually do it? That's how I felt when I was starting the podcast. I was unsure, yet I was excited, and I also had unknowing, and I just did it anyway. I felt the fear and I did it anyway. I also know that we get super busy. We have many priorities. So finding the space and time to reinvent ourselves is no easy task. You might be in that mode of someday I'm going to get down to the business of doing what I really want to do or following that dream. So it might feel like it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right? That's a common feeling that many of us can have. But the question really gets to be, when you have these dreams, you have these ideas, you have this inkling, there's something more, and yet you're not taking action, are you really showing up for yourself? Because showing up for ourselves means we've decided that whatever that thing is that we want to do, it's important enough that we find a way. I found my way by getting up every day at 4:45 to work on it. That may not be your way. You probably have lots of other ways that you would show up for yourself when you think about reinvention. But it's really key to figure out, how can I show up for myself? What does that look like for me? Because it says I'm making my life, my dreams, my ideas a priority. It means you're being intentional about what it is you want to do or be or achieve. And that makes all the difference when we're reinventing ourselves. So we just have to think a little bit about that. What does that look like for us when you decide you matter, your life matters, your dreams matter? Reinvention is an ongoing process. And the truth is there are many different ways to do it. However we choose, we want to do it in a way that honors ourself, that works for us. How you create space for yourself and choose yourself and show up for yourself may be very different than the way I do it. But what matters is that you're doing it in a way that works for you, that honors you and your needs. Do you remember my friend Natalie from season 2 of the podcast? Natalie, who has reinvented herself in so many interesting ways. Natalie, who retired early, downsized her life because she had a big goal of moving to Portugal. Natalie, who made a bunch of different sacrifices to make this happen and is now literally in the process of moving there in the next few months. She had this idea. Remember, she went around the world with her carry-on bag for 3 months, having all kinds of adventures. And she went to Portugal for a month because she had an inkling that would be a place she liked. And she ended up loving it and finding a great place, a great town where she wanted to retire. But, it's not that simple to retire in a foreign country. There's tons of paperwork you need to do and things you need to do. So it takes planning. It takes time. Often it means learning another language. But she has figured it out. She has consistently shown up for herself as she has continued to reinvent herself. And that's what this is really about. It's, in this case, on her terms, figuring it out on her terms in a way that works for her. And I'm actually going to link to that in the show notes because this episode is amazing and I know you will totally love it. And I want you to check it out. But she is a great example of what it means to show up for ourselves. So I want to ask you 3 questions to get you thinking about what it means to show up for yourself. Again, this idea, it's different for all of us. So for me, it means having more fun, carving out time to do nothing, literally just doing less, being more still, just being. It may be totally different for you. But I want you to think about this question. What does it mean to show up for yourself? And I want you to write down every way that manifests for you, because that helps give us clarity. What does it look like for you when you show up for yourself, especially in the context of reinventing yourself? What does that look like? So that's question number 1. Question number 2, how does showing up for yourself help you? In what way does this help you when you actually do this? What do you gain from showing up for yourself? And question 3, what's at stake if you don't show up for yourself? What can happen? Will you be stressed out? Will you be disappointed in yourself? Will you feel depressed? Will you feel uncertain? Will it manifest as having less confidence in yourself? There are endless things that could happen. It's different for each of us, but I'd love for you to think about you. What's at stake if you don't show up for yourself in the way you want to? No matter where you are in reinventing yourself, what does that look like if you don't? So again, the 3 questions are, what does it mean to show up for yourself? Number 1. Number 2, how does showing up for yourself help you? And number 3, what's at stake if you don't show up for yourself? I'd love for you to noodle on these questions. And I want to leave you with this final question. Why not you and why not now? Why shouldn't you lean in and show up for yourself more often? Why shouldn't you go for your dreams? You should. You should totally reinvent yourself in a way that works for you, showing up for you in a way that makes sense and honors who you are. So I want to leave you with those thoughts as we kick off season 4 of the podcast. I will tell you that there are great interviews in store for you this season. I'm so excited. Next week, you'll have the chance to listen to My first guest interview with the fabulous Rachel Peru. Rachel has an inspiring reinvention story about how she started modeling in her mid-40s, started modeling bathing suits and lingerie in her mid-40s, when often we're thinking about our bodies at that age and we're not too pleased with them. And it is such a wonderful story of unfolding, of getting to know herself, of seeing new possibilities and going for it. So it will definitely inspire you. And I can't wait for you to listen. And I'll just mention that if you are noodling on this idea of reinvention, you're feeling a little unsure, like, I don't even know where I begin, which is a pretty typical thing. Like, I don't know where to start. What do I even do? I would love for you to pop over and sign up for my free audio, 5 questions to spark your curiosity and inspire your Reinvention Rebel journey. I've got some great questions that will get you thinking about, what could that look like for you? And how do you go from unsure to getting started? So it's really helpful and it's fun. A short audio to get you in the mode. I'm thinking it's back to school time, so why not get back to our reinvention dreams? Until next week, keep shining your light. The world needs you and all that you have to offer. Hey, Rebel. If this episode inspired you to think about what's possible in your life, I'll share a little secret. Any of us can reinvent ourselves no matter where we are in our lives, any age, any stage. We just have to decide to get started. Here's a super simple way for you to get going with your reinvention dreams. Download my audio, 5 questions to spark your curiosity and inspire your reinvention journey. I share 5 key questions that will spur your thinking, help you uncover your dreams, and motivate you to take action. Because if not now, when? Details in the show notes. Let's get inspired together.